You are listening to the Hodges Huddle, where we discuss all things in the wide world of sports. Here's your KLSU sports team.
Welcome into the Hodges Huddle. I'm your host, Andre Champagne, and today we are joined by Jayden Smith and Michael Poggi. Happy Monday, guys, and also happy Saints game day. This is coming out tomorrow, but here's the thing. Saints game day right now. Yeah. So we're a little hype about that. How's everybody's Monday, though?
Feeling marvelous on this Monday, man. I'm feeling good. It's been a little minute since I've been on the podcast, so yeah.
That's exactly right.
It's good to be back.
We were on a week hiatus last week. We needed a little break.
Yeah, man.
How was your breaks?
It was good.
Last week was a catch-up week for school for some of us.
Yeah, it was nice, man. I got to work that South Alabama game, which was a good experience.
There you go.
Nice little break for all of us. Got to kind of hang out and watch more football, watch more, just stuff going on with the worldwide of sports.
Thank you. All right. Well, I've had a pretty calm Monday. Jayden, you good here? Jayden's messing with the microphone.
I lost my train of thought because I was looking at
You're
that.
Good.
I lost
You're
my
good,
whole train
man.
of
Hold
thought.
on. Just take it off. Just take it off for a second. But let's get into this while Jayden does that. Yeah. Just in a weekend, when you thought it was going to be a calm bye week, we literally discussed this at College Radio Day this weekend. I said, this slate sucks this week. I literally told you that. And like 5 minutes later, Vandy jumped out to a 13-0 lead on Vandy. And then there were several upsets in college football. So let's just discuss a few of those, as we're not going to be talking much LSU today, but we will be talking a little bit. First game, let's talk about that Alabama-Vandy game. How about those Commodores? What kind of win is this for the program and Coach Clark Lee? And do you think this changes the program, or do you think it's still going to be Vanderbilt at the end of the day?
I think this is big for their program. I mean, they were 0-60 against Bama before.
0-60 against top 5 AP opponents.
Yeah, and now they're 1-60.
1-60.
So, it's better than 0-60, but I don't know if I see this change in the Vanderbilt football program. I just think Vanderbilt's football program is always going to be what it is, especially with it being in the SEC against Bama, Georgia, LSU, and now Texas, Oklahoma, and just superior teams. But this is a very great win for their program. Their fans and players and students are going to cherish this moment forever, and they're
rushing the field at Vandy. Yeah. This is crazy.
Yeah, I think the goalpost was like floating in the river or something.
Yeah,
like that.
3 miles down.
Yeah. 3 miles, and they had to pay like $7 per mile per whatever. I read something. It was like $100,000 that they had to pay Alabama.
Yeah.
And then it already got auctioned off. Look, man, I think that this is a huge win for the program. I think this is a momentum-building thing. Look, Rome wasn't built in a day. It's not gonna happen overnight.
Yeah.
But why not? Why couldn't this moment change the program?
Yeah.
I think that a win like this to any small school, especially a small football school in the SEC, is gonna boost recruiting in a little bit. It's going to boost how you get coaches. It's going to boost everything. It's going to boost alumni putting in money,
Yep.
It's a big thing for the city of Nashville, and it's a big thing for the University of Vanderbilt.
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, if we think about it right now, this might have been the biggest upset we've ever experienced.
It might have
just
been
in our lifetime, if you think about it. I mean, let's like Vanderbilt isn't as awful as they usually are, but still, it shouldn't matter. Like Alabama was number 1, coming off like one of the biggest wins of their season, and it's just wild. But here's my thing: at the end of the day, this is what one of our former reporters said, Andy Brabham, to me. He said, "This ain't your daddy's Vanderbilt anymore."
He did say that.
And you've never seen a Saban, this ain't your daddy's Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt used to suck, and I don't think they're going to suck as bad as they did back then now. But
I agree.
I don't know. You've never seen a Saban coach team lose to Bama? Lose to Vandy?
Vanderbilt.
Sorry.
Well, and that's what I was about to ask. I was like, do you think that when Nick Saban lost to ULM, you think that this is a bigger loss than that was. A more like, because I do.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
do. And
because Bama wasn't good back in that day.
no, 100%. But neither is ULM.
Well,
And-
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, right.
but I
So-
think at that point in time,
roster,
Bama was building its program.
Okay.
They
Yeah,
had just
exactly.
started building that.
Yeah.
So, all right, first year coach, you still, you're not supposed to lose that game, but okay, it's going to be bumps in the road. But
No,
this,
for sure.
Yeah, you just beat Georgia. Like,
just got
there's
down.
no reason.
You just
Also-
won the game of the century, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You won the game of this, like one of the best games I've ever watched ever in college football, and then you lose another game that we've never even. It was back-to-back weeks of things we've never even seen of, which is a great thing for college football, not such a great thing for Alabama.
It's true.
But
And I think it's going to mean a lot for Vanderbilt down the line because they actually already flipped a 4-star recruit linebacker from Mississippi State now to Vandy.
wow.
So I'm thinking, hey, just think like Vanderbilt is a team where they have athletes. Like there's no denying that. Like, but here's the thing: if Vandy after this win, if you can get all those 3 stars and 2 stars that Vanderbilt has right now to play with that kind of effort, think what you could get from several 4 stars if you do end up getting those guys. Like they could become a team like where you literally you can't be like, haha, we play Vandy this week. Like
yeah.
I'm just saying that's how I think it's gonna be. But down the line, do you think teams are gonna figure out this Vandy team down the line this season?
I mean, yeah.
I mean,
they lost to
two
Georgia
teams.
Southern.
Yeah, 2 teams already.
Like-
I mean, we're right.
So.
Georgia State, yeah.
Georgia State, my bad. They lost to Georgia State, which, I mean,
it's Georgia State.
somebody
yeah.
somebody was asking me like, do you think Vanderbilt should have been ranked? No.
No.
Like that's no.
But somehow, but never mind.
Look,
I'm not even.
if you show up to your field and you have to play Vanderbilt and you don't perform the way you're supposed to, 100% they can show you up that
Yep.
day. 100%. If they come here and we're rattled up, not knowing what our record's going to be.
Yeah.
Say we got a couple more losses under our belt. I could see Vandy coming in here and shutting the crowd up. And if you don't show up, that can happen.
I agree.
Yeah, and that's why like Nick Saban was such a good coach because
Yeah.
it didn't matter who he was playing against. He wasn't cutting no corners against anybody.
Right.
Like everybody was getting it. So
Yeah.
I think, Bama just didn't play their best. And for one, I think their defense got exposed a little bit.
Yeah.
That defense
We'll talk about that.
didn't look very
Well,
good. But it's not Sunday, but any given Saturday, I guess.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like it could happen to anybody.
Well, like I was just saying, like if you throw Nick Saban in there in the last 5 minutes as the coach, you're winning that football game.
Yeah.
Like he's winning that game.
Yeah.
So I think it goes higher up too.
Now, for Alabama, we discussed like earlier, actually on that Sunday show, Jayden. We said, hey, Alabama can afford a loss, but they could not afford this one specifically. Do you think they go undefeated from here on out as they still have a tough Tennessee team to face, a Missouri team that, you don't know who's showing up week in and week out. You have LSU on the road and then Oklahoma on the schedule. So,
knowing Bama and the way that their seasons usually play out, like usually if they lose a game that they're not supposed to lose, they don't usually lose from there on out. And that's one of the things I did take away from I did say after the game, like, dang, this means they're not going to lose again. So I could definitely see them not losing just because Bama usually is just almost a completely different team from,
after a loss.
After a loss. They just have
for
a
sure.
different level of
It's
focus
a hangover,
and
too, from that
intensity.
Georgia game.
And
So.
it could have been a hangover. I don't know what it was, but yeah, I would say knowing Bama the way I do and the way things usually play out, I don't really see him losing from here on out.
Yeah, you were saying earlier this ain't your daddy's Vanderbilt, this ain't your daddy's Bama either. And it's a whole different thing in my opinion, because like I just said, Nick Saban's head coach. They don't lose that football game, no matter who's on the roster. No matter
It's not
who-
remotely close either.
It's not close. They win it by multiple
Yeah,
touchdowns.
yeah, that's-
And so it's like, I think that yes, a normal Bama squad, they lose this game. I'm an LSU fan. I'm terrified. I'm petrified. This Bama team, I think their whole mind is messed up. And I don't know how we'll have to see in these next couple weeks how they
agree.
respond.
Well, you
But-
mean messed up from losing to Vandy?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
for
their
sure.
whole mental state is gotta
Man, bro.
be messed up.
We're the
Malachi
guy.
Moore
We're the ones
was-
that did it.
Oh my gosh, bro! Did y'all see the clip of Malachi Moore
Malachi
like,
Moore.
And
losing
he
his
went
mind?
lost his mind, went crazy, freaking out. He had to release a statement today apologizing. And like, look,
I know.
that would
That's
Nick
a coaching thing, by
Nick
the way.
Saban would have had him walking home.
I agree. But I think this shows that Kalen DeBoer is not the in-game coach that Nick Saban was. I mean, you saw it was halftime. Bama was getting physically beat, dominated on defense. Nick Saban would have had Bama running some sort of different scheme or something. I mean, Bama was getting beat by the triple option. I mean, it's like
It was so beautiful to watch.
this isn't a video
so
game,
beautiful.
man.
I had
This
so
ain't
much fun.
this ain't supposed to happen in real
Yeah.
life. But I think that just kind of shows like this Bama team is beatable. But hey, now's the thing, like you said, Jane, they have one loss. They can't really afford one, especially because of the quality of losses now. That we didn't take into effect. Because look, I do think that a 10-2 Alabama gets in because of the politics involved in it. Obviously,
They almost got in. What was that? 2 years ago.
2 years ago. Yeah. And I think it just shows. Like I said, I think I think whoever has to play them is going to have to play their best game of the
Yeah.
season to beat Alabama again.
Yeah.
And I think it's doable, like I said, but
They're
it's going to be
beatable.
much more harder than it was for
Right,
Vandy,
right.
I think you're going to have to make
Yeah.
minimal mistakes.
Yeah.
And-
Vandy caught him sleeping.
Right, for
Yeah.
sure. But I don't think this Bama team's as strong as we thought. So let's move on to the Tennessee game.
Yeah.
Tennessee was
Yes.
defeated in a thriller in Fayetteville. The Hogs took down Tennessee by a score of 19-14 behind a great defensive performance. First off, did Sam Pittman save his job with this win?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, an unranked team beating a top 4 team, like that's a good look for anybody.
Right.
Because again, like that's a game you're not supposed to win. And I watched that game and the way that the team rallied together. And Arkansas looked really good in that game, by the way.
Yeah.
I think
Defensively.
wins like this are the ones that stand out on your resume.
I agree.
These are the ones that you can show, should you try to go
Yeah.
get another job, you can show, okay, this
I've done this with these guys.
Yeah, exactly. So
I agree.
absolutely.
I can go here, Michael.
go ahead, man.
I think this win, I think it bought Sam Pittman some time.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to say it saved his job completely because they are still losing games that they're not supposed to be. Take that Oklahoma State game, for example. Should not have lost that one. The UAB game was really close, which is insane because you look at how Tulane put a BTA
Yeah.
this weekend. They should have won that game, like I said, against Oklahoma State. So I think they're going to have to win maybe one more big one.
Yeah.
And I think that shows, hey, Sam can actually do this. It's just going to have to be more consistently.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I think it bought him a ticket for a little bit of extra time. But, I mean, look, it's all about what you do with your opportunities. You make something out of this. You get a big win. It's up to you to go in there and, do something out of
Right.
it. These next few weeks are big for you. In a couple weeks, you got LSU coming to you. If you can, make something happen there, 2 top 25 wins off the bat.
Yeah, I think the
That's-
job's saved
Yeah,
at that
it's
point.
saved. Exactly.
But similar to Alabama, I said this Tennessee team could afford a loss down the road. But like Alabama, you couldn't lose this one specifically against Arkansas because now down the line you have to play Georgia, you have to play Alabama, you have to
Yeah.
play Florida. Tennessee's road doesn't get any easier.
Easier.
And just for the SEC in general, if you thought Florida was going to be an easy win this year, I'm sorry, that's not the case. Like I don't know, maybe it was for Texas A&M, but I think down the line, Florida has found their identity now. They beat a decent UCF team at home, which I guess they were supposed to do, but they look pretty good. But for Tennessee, do you think they lose another down the road? And if so, do they make the playoffs with that loss to Arkansas?
I think they're gonna lose to Bama and Georgia. They're gonna lose both of those
You
games.
think both?
And they're not gonna make the playoffs. And because you're not gonna be.
It's just funny the way you said it.
I mean, well, if you think like you're gonna be a 3-loss team.
Yeah.
All 3 of your losses are in the SEC.
Right.
Yeah.
there's 3 teams right now with 0 SEC losses, and there's a bunch with 1.
I think they're going to beat up on each other. Like, we're going to talk about the SEC in general, but
I was talking about this to my friend the other day. It feels like 2007 the way this college
Yeah,
season is
and
looking.
we
I
said
thought
that
of that,
last
yeah.
year, but no, like that is literally this year.
It feels like 2007, and I don't know what's going to happen at the end.
You know what that means. But no, seriously.
I don't think
I
so.
don't think there's any way that they get past Georgia and Bama unscathed. This is why, like, you can't lose games you're not supposed to lose. Like, they hurt so
Yes, man.
much. Like, but I mean, this is why we love college football.
Oh, for
because
sure.
like things like this happen. Right?
Now it gets
Like,
more competitive,
yeah,
right?
even
Now
more
every
competitive.
single game means something, and
Yeah.
I love that about college football. I think Tennessee's definitely going to lose another one. I was so high on this Tennessee team, and I think I told you guys that.
They look good.
Their defense is elite, and you saw that against Arkansas too. It's just their offense. Oh my goodness!
Which is so
There's
confusing because I really thought Nico.
Nico
was
is good,
legit.
Man.
but with a young quarterback, you're gonna get mistakes, and you saw that. And I also think Josh Heupel did a horrible job of calling plays. The run game was going great,
Yeah,
and you didn't commit to
didn't
it.
continue,
I
yeah.
don't
I
understand
agree.
that. But I think Tennessee is. I think they're going to lose one for sure, and I think it's going to be Georgia. But I think they're going to beat Bama. I think that game's at home.
I think I'm
You
with
can-
Mike, bro. I think they lose to both.
I can
I
see,
don't know.
I
Who
see a
knows?
world. I see a world where that happens for sure, and that's probably the more likely things to happen. But like I said, I'm high on this Tennessee team. I think this could have been a wake up call for them, and right now I'll say they win one of those two. And I think they do make the playoffs with the resume if they do end up being the Alabama or a Georgia.
yeah.
I just think the SEC is so weird this year.
This year for sure.
It's just so weird. Like,
And it sucks because you joined that mega conference just for you to now have to have 5 teams fighting for probably an 11-10 spot.
Like we talked about them for a couple seconds. Like the only team that I think that is like in this mix of like strangeness going on that isn't very good is Missouri. I don't think Missouri's a very good football team.
Yeah.
I think they're overrated.
You can't take them lightly. I
Man,
can take
at
you that.
first I was like, okay, they're not as good as last year. But what I saw Texas A&M do to them,
Yeah,
I think
they're
that just shows
good.
Texas A&M's good.
I
think it's a
Texas
little bit of
A&M
both.
good, but I think it's a little bit of both. 100%. I think it's because I just think that any team can beat anybody in this conference this year more than ever. But I do agree that there are stronger and weaker points, and I just think I think too many people were super high on Missouri. Like I don't think they were the number 9 team in the country, even with their record.
Yeah, I guess that happens when you lose all the coaches you did
yeah.
too. But just with the SEC being wide open now, you really look down that schedule for LSU, and you just see how difficult it is down the line. Like
Armageddon, man.
starting with Ole Miss. I mean, this is going to be an actual gauntlet. I don't think people realize how hard the schedule
It's gonna be
goes
stressful.
for you guys. I mean, does your prediction for LSU drastically change seeing the craziness in the conference and just seeing how competitive it is?
I think I said what? I think I said like what 9-3, 8-4,
think you said
or something
9-3.
like that. So I guess not too much. I hope it changes for the right reason.
right.
Yeah, man. I don't know.
It's super hard.
Yeah.
See, I think my prediction gonna change, but I don't know if it's for the right reason. I will say I'm very happy that Ole Miss, whooped on South Carolina last week. I'm glad that they didn't, beat Kentucky and then lose to South Carolina and then come to us all angry and upset. I think that we have a really good chance to go in and beat Ole Miss. And I thought before, a couple weeks ago, I thought we were losing that game. My opinion has changed a lot on that specific game. And I just I got to see how we do in that game. But I do think that we could be a 4-loss team, but I also think we could easily be a 2-loss team. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I just don't know, man. With all the injuries that LSU has right now, I don't see 2 losses I don't see that being possible anymore. And it sucks because you look at see who USC has lost you the past 2 weeks. It's like
It's so annoying.
it's annoying because LSU would have been in a driver's seat right now for the college
Would have
football
been
playoffs.
chilling.
Yes, they would have been able to lose a game like Alabama easily or Ole Miss, and you could have won all the rest. Like they were winnable games if you bring your A game. But now I'm looking and I'm saying, hey, LSU's they're gonna play in so many close games. You just know that they're not gonna win every single one of those, and so
Yeah.
I think you lose against A&M on the road, and I think you lose to Alabama at home. I think they're just too much of a threat against. I mean, offensively, they're a threat.
My thing is though, I think we can be a 3-loss team, and with the
craziness going on,
that's
yes.
going on, and with the teams that have already lost, like Bama already has a loss, Georgia already has a loss, and they have to play other hard teams
Right.
on the road, at home, wherever it is. I think a 3-loss team could get you in, could get you a spot.
I do agree.
And it depends who you lose to, of course, and who you beat and all that stuff. But I genuinely think that if you just, do what you're supposed to, you're still going to be fine.
I agree.
Yeah, it just sucks that we started off the season
we should be
not
undefeated.
doing what we were supposed to.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it is what it is.
It is. But with the SEC wide open, who do you think wins the SEC like overall, even though everyone but 3 SEC teams, including LSU right now, have conference losses so far?
I'm going to have to say Bama, man. Just because, what I
Bama?
said earlier, I don't see him losing from here on out. I guess
I guess you're
just
right.
don't.
I guess. Okay.
I disagree. I think that Georgia is gonna do it. I think Georgia's gonna beat Texas in that game.
Yeah.
Okay.
And assuming everybody stays healthy,
Yep.
I think that they go in and beat Texas and Austin, and I think that gives them in the SEC championship. And then I think they win that.
I just think Georgia is really suspect right now. Obviously, they're going to prove me wrong after I say this. I already know this is how Georgia's been doing what they do. I mean, they're going to go play elite football against the teams they have to play against.
Yeah.
And I could see a world where Georgia does win it. But right now, give me Texas. Just because Texas, down the line, you have to play Georgia. And that's the big game. That's the game that you circle when it's at home. And you also have to play A&M. So I think they win 1 out of 2 of those games.
I
and
would
one
add
loss.
Oklahoma to that list just because that
I mean,
game
that is a
always-
rivalry.
Like,
You're right.
I could easily see Texas going 0-2 against A&M and Georgia.
I could too.
I don't think Texas has played anybody.
But it's unlikely. I think it's unlikely with Quinn Ewers coming back. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
But what's a dark horse team people need to start looking out for now that isn't ranked, the highest, but could make some noise in the SEC now that it really is wide open?
I hate to say it.
We're all gonna say it.
I hate to say it. Texas A&M.
Uh-huh.
I hate to do it.
Is it a triple sweep?
It burns a hole in my heart. But I mean,
Yeah.
look, I'm not very high on their offense. I'm not very high on their quarterback.
That defense.
But that defense is good. And,
Mike Elko. I mean,
and
you
that,
do what
and
you're doing.
you that crowd is you play a home game. It's hard to go in there and beat them, man. It's really difficult.
I agree. You think the same thing?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it started last Saturday. Like,
Yeah.
just the BTA to
To Mizzou.
man. Like
that
it-
just showed me. Yeah.
And it I was waiting for it to get better, and it just didn't. Like,
no.
just total and utter dominance.
Yeah, and like you said, the way that they played last week shows me they can win against pretty much any SEC team because, I mean, if you're beating and you can't say that Mizzou's not a good team. Like, they are a good team.
They're a good
They're
team.
not a great team. Mm-hmm. The way that they beat them, that's scary because if they're playing on all the right levels against the teams that you have to play.
Yeah.
And here's another thing. The only ranked games they have left this season, guess, it's Texas and it's LSU. I believe both of those games are at home. Yeah. So I could see a world where A&M also gets one loss in conference play, and they kind of similar to the LSU situation. You lost the opener game, but you still are in the SEC championship, and I could see that. So
A&M's in such a good spot.
they're in a good spot. I agree. And another thing, they have not lost a game in conference play.
undefeated.
The only gimme you have on that schedule, it's Miss State. let's be real.
Yeah.
Mississippi State is the only gimme in the SEC this year.
But I'm not confident in us going into Kyle Field.
Not particularly, no. But let's talk about this Ole Miss at LSU game. They do play Ole Miss, LSU on Saturday, which should be one of the best games of the year. I really think this one's going to come down to the wire. Tiger Stadium should be rocking for the first time in what I can kind of say like it feels like in a while. Like I don't remember the last time where Tiger Stadium had to stay an entire game.
It was probably
22 Bama.
Yeah.
It probably
Yeah.
was.
And then besides that, 22 Ole Miss.
Yeah, 22 Ole Miss.
And that was what?
And that was a day
2:30
game. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. So I'm thinking night game here.
Yeah.
But Ole Miss looked really good against South Carolina and seemed to fix a lot of those problems that were present against Kentucky.
Yeah.
And LSU got the week, a really much needed week. A lot of guys banged up. And I believe we won't see Kyle Parker, is what I'm being told right now. I heard he aggravated the labrum that he hurt against
Unfortunate.
USC. So I don't think you're going to see him all year. Right now, Brian Kelly is saying that C.J. Daniels is practicing this week. Caden Durham is practicing. Chris Hilton should be a go, which is good news.
Finally.
So starting
Yeah,
off,
about time.
do you think Chris Hilton finally hits the field, and what kind of contribution is he going to have to be, especially if Daniels can't go, and obviously Parker can't go? So just talk about what he has to do this weekend.
Yeah, I think he's got to hit the field, and I think that's kind of what the staff has kind of been just falling back on,
Right.
like just having him ready for SEC play. Just kind of relaxing, because I think he was supposed to play the UCLA game, and he wasn't out there.
He
So
played a few snaps,
Yeah.
and run block, which is crazy.
And I think it just, I think they were just trying to make sure he was 100% ready to go for the big dogs. So, I'm expecting him to be out there. I don't know what type of impact he's going to have. Players come back from injury and just look kind of weird. Teams don't want to throw him the ball,
Yeah,
don't
they
want to
wanna take
use
it
him.
slow.
Yeah, so we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I'd love to see him out there. He's definitely a tool that we could use against a good Ole Miss team. But look, if he's good to go, throw him. If he's not good to go, don't.
Yeah, don't force it,
But
but-
I definitely do think he's got to be on the field, especially with CJ maybe being out and Parker out.
Right, exactly. I think he's at what point do you say, hey, you need to go
Sit him.
play?
Yeah.
Because he's wasting so much talent to the point where, and I know it's not his fault, but if he's ready to go, you have to build up at some point.
I
Because
even think if you're 80%, you got to send him.
and he was 85%. They said for UCLA, but they wanted him 100%. I don't believe that. I really don't believe. I just think Chris hasn't been able to stay healthy, and it sucks to suck. But if he's able to go this week, I better see a great game from him, and that's what I'm expecting, because you're a veteran, you're a guy that has been with this program for so long. I understand you were hurt, but you've had all this time to build up and get yourself ready. You better be fresher than the other guys. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm sure he'll be fresh, but I just, again, with the whole, like you said, the UCLA game, you said they had him just doing
Run block.
blocking.
Yeah.
So I think the principle might be the same. They're just going to have him out there, use him as a decoy type thing.
And if they do that, I don't think LSU wins that game.
Yeah, but I think, I could see them doing that, but I think, if you got CJ and Parker out, which it sounds like
He's
got to
play. That's what I'm saying.
He's got, you have to,
He's got to
make
be
something
productive.
happen.
Yep,
Yeah.
I agree. Because Aaron Anderson,
Can only do
as
so
great
much.
as he has been, he will get. I don't think he's going to get clamped. I don't think that.
But they will catch on to him.
They're going to catch on. Kyron Lacey has not played his best ball in the past 2 weeks, and until he shows otherwise, it's got to be another guy to step up.
Yeah.
But shifting to that defense, how many stops will it take for LSU to win this game? I can start. I said about 5 to 6, which is a lot to ask, because this Ole Miss offense, it's going to be electric. It's not going to be the offense that you saw against South Carolina. It's not going to be the offense you saw against Kentucky. They're going to take shots. They're going to be aggressive, and they're going to hit sometimes. And LSU's going to have to be fine with that, but they're going to have to force a turnover or two so that their offense can strike back. But if they can force maybe 3-4 punts and a turnover or two in that margin,
Yeah.
I think LSU's going to win this game close.
I think that if we see the same LSU offense that we saw against South Alabama, which is,
It's
asking a lot. If you see an offense, that's like that, that's going out, that looks almost perfect, scoring on plays, big plays, all that stuff, those monster plays are going to be really important on Saturday. If we're able to see that, I think 2, 3, 4 stops wins the game. If you're not seeing that, it, like you said, it's going to be 5, 6, 7, 8, and that's asking a lot. But but if your offense isn't clicking on all cylinders,
you're losing the game.
Our defense has to be able to step up, and I don't know if our defense is good enough to step up. But I do believe in
I think the offense
our
has to
offense showing up and scoring points. I think we could go out there and score 30, 40 points.
I don't know. This is a good Ole Miss defense, if we're being honest. And they don't get enough credit because, they held a South Carolina offense who was pretty good defensively. I think I saw somewhere they ranked 3rd nationally defensively right now, which is kind of crazy. But they're kind of banged up too. And what helps is defense. Trey Harris right now, he's questionable. Yes.
He playing.
Hurt his leg. Oh, I'm sure he will.
Yeah.
Hurt his leg against South Carolina, didn't play for the rest of the half. That could have been more of a, hey, we're just going to do this because we're up right now. But, hey, that changes the game because if he's not 100%, that completely helps this LSU defense out.
Absolutely.
He's not as explosive, and you don't really have to worry about him beating a safety just with the speed.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they're going to need not just a lot of stops, but early, quick stops. I think LSU is – we need to make this just a nasty, dirty, gritty, grimy game.
Yeah.
Just because I think Ole Miss is a different team when you put them in situations like that. When you put them in situations where they have to really just dig deep and find a way to win that game, they just make more and more and more mistakes.
Right.
So, yeah, I think we're going to have to set the tone early that, no, this is not going to be a high-scoring game.
Right.
It's going to be one of those.
It almost feels like that 2022 game where it feels like, hey, Ole Miss was undefeated at this point, and they were the dogs. LSU were the underdogs going into it. And then LSU just, struggled first week. I mean, first half. And then after it wasn't even a factor.
Yeah.
But they didn't know about Harold Perkins that game. So that's another fact.
I knew about Harold Perkins.
Exactly. So early predictions, what do you think is going to happen in this game?
I'm going to say LSU 23-17.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a little bit more high scoring than that.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a close ball game to the wire. I think in order for LSU to win this ball game, they're going to have to score. And sadly, I think it's going to have to be up top, like a lot of points.
Yeah.
But I think it can happen. So I'm going to go 42-35 LSU.
Okay. I think this game is decided by a field goal by either team. Right now, I'm leaning more towards Ole Miss just because you don't know how hurt LSU is right now. There's so many dang injuries that, I mean, if another guy is, God forbid, goes down, I don't think LSU has the depth to replace at really any position besides the defensive line right now, which is the craziest part we've ever said because
that wasn't there last year.
That wasn't there last year. So that's I'll say maybe 34-31 Ole Miss right now.
Yeah.
But that's it. That will do it here for us today on this episode. Thanks to Jayden Smith and Michael Poggi for joining me. I'm Andre Champagne, and this has been the Hodges Huddle.